practitioner at Family Medical Center, and I own the Essential Health Medi Spa. I've got a special guest tonight. I'm so excited. This is Mike Sohn. He works at UNC Nash in the cardiac rehab, and we're going to talk about cardiac rehab. But Mike and I have been reminiscing. I've known him for over 25 years. I knew him when he had dark hair and didn't have a wife and didn't have kids.
Which is where the gray hair came from.
Now he's got kids and a son-in-law.
Yes.
So, anyway, it's just been kind of fun to talk to him. And I used to work with his wife in the ER a long time ago as well. So we go back a long way. Let's see if I can remember. I think, Mike, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you're an exercise physiologist. Is that correct?
Got it. Correct.
Woo!
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been an exercise physiologist at Nash, at UNC Health Nash for 25 years now. Was staff exercise physiologist for probably about 10 or 15 years, and just about maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, took over as the clinical manager role for the cardiac and pulmonary rehab.
Yeah, I think I'd rather be the exercise physiologist.
It's got its perks. I grew up on Long Island. Actually, have lived in North Carolina probably now longer than I've lived in on Long Island now.
Yes.
So, went to college here at Wesleyan.
Did you?
Yeah, sure
No,
did.
that I didn't know.
Got my degree from Wesleyan in exercise science, and met my wife, and at that point had realized that I wasn't going back to Long Island. So,
did you meet Wanda at the hospital? We met her here because
so
she was an exercise physiologist as well.
She was. So we met, believe it or not, at the YMCA, at the old Westridge Branch YMCA.
Really?
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She was teaching CPR. We're not going to go any further than just thinking about teaching CPR. We use dummies. We met.
Still use dummies,
yeah,
Mike.
We both worked at the YMCA as personal trainers for a while, and then there was she worked at Nash. She's been at Nash now for 26 years at the hospital now, and she is actually, this is a big heart family. She is now actually the clinical manager for the Nash, for the UNC Nash cardiology group at Nash. So, so we've been in Nash for quite a long time.
Yeah. When did she transition from exercise physiologist to a registered nurse? I remember when she did, but I couldn't tell you what year.
I want to say, probably about over 20 years ago. She was an exercise physiologist. She got her master's from East Carolina in exercise physiology, and then she went back to nursing school. I think she got her degree in nursing. I think Wanda is she's a lifetime student. She loves to learn.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
She got her master's in exercise physiology, went back and got her associate's as an RN, and then just several years ago, probably about 10, 15 years ago now, I think, she went back and got her master's in nursing. So,
okay.
But yeah, you guys worked together in the ED.
We sure did.
And then she transitioned out of the ED, and then did a lot of little clinical manager positions, and now she has settled down at the cardiology clinic. Not me. I've stayed in the same place, same spot for 25, 26 years now. So, but I love it. I love what we do. So.
Yeah, and do you still offer the exercise equipment for the employees like you did in the past? Because I used to go there and exercise when I worked there.
Yeah, so we moved in 2019. We moved on campus. You knew that, didn't you? I think you knew that.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, so we were at the old community hospital building for roughly about 20 years, and that's where I started out.
Right, and that's where I went
the fitness center was, right. But in 2019, UNC Health Nash was putting a lot of big, good investment into cardiac care at the hospital, and we benefited from that.
Yeah.
So we moved on campus just cardiac and pulmonary rehab back in 2019 to a much bigger facility over Building 100 on the hospital campus, and have a great staff solely dedicated to just cardiac and pulmonary rehab, actually even doing PAD now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, and it's been great.
That is, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we see we're our biggest
Hold on
clientele.
one minute. PAD is
that's
not a
right.
pad. It's peripheral artery disease. And just like your artery can get blocked and cause a heart attack, your arteries in your legs can get blocked and cause pain when you walk, and it cuts off circulation. So that's what PAD is.
Yeah. And there's been lots of research, obviously, with PAD and exercise, and one of the best exercises, believe it or not, is walking. Anybody with claudication and pain, but yeah, we've expanded to doing some PAD. Cardiac is probably our biggest patient population. Pulmonary has grown pretty tremendously over the last couple of months with the flu coming around and shortness of breath, but yeah, when they put that investment into the cardiac care, like I said, we really benefited a lot from that.
Yeah. We're going to talk about heart, but I just wanted to ask you, have you, the pulmonary, have you seen a lot of problems secondary to COVID?
Yeah, and yes, for sure. Not so much in the last year or two, but back, I want to say 2020, 2021, maybe 2022, we saw a lot of post-COVID care, and we saw a lot of good success with exercise. And something that we always look into in the exercise physiology world is how does exercise really help the long COVID and all that. And there's just not much research, but what we have seen and what we've said is, hey, it really can't hurt because you're going to be coming in and exercising.
It's not going to hurt you. It might not help, but certainly won't hurt.
We saw some good success with folks that were on oxygen that weren't on oxygen before COVID, had COVID, but were put on oxygen, and then the doctors took them off of the oxygen. So that was some good success, but yeah.
All right, so it's Heart Month, as you know, February, and happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there. I hope you all are going to have a little toast and a chocolate, and ladies get some flowers.
Dark chocolate, it's heart healthy.
Dark chocolate, that's right. Heart healthy, that's right. Of course, some of us don't like dark chocolate and give it away, but anyway. So why do we even have a cardiac rehab? What's the point? What's the purpose?
I mean, yeah, so, heart disease, very prominent throughout the entire country. It's pretty prominent here in Nash and Edgecombe County, obviously. They call it the barbecue belt. They don't call that for, it's not a joke. It's truly
and the stroke belt.
And the stroke belt. But yeah, we're, again, the cardiac care at Nash is a big part of it, even though we existed before the cardiac care really kind of ramped up at Nash. But folks are having heart attacks. Folks are having stents, having bypasses, valve surgeries. And years and years ago, they found that these folks were having all of these procedures done. Well, what are they doing to recover? And that's really kind of how cardiac rehab was born. It's kind of turned a little bit more comprehensive over the 25 years that I remember when I first started. It was virtually have them exercise, check a pulse, write it on a piece of paper, and that was it.
And about what they did was on the treadmill, right?
Right, and that's all. And now it's gotten the science behind it, exercise physiology. Here at Wesleyan College, they've got a great exercise science program, which is great. ECU, we've lots of students and stuff we have seen. But yeah, I mean, folks need to recover, and it's one of these things that I always tell folks, even during the intake processes, if you've had a stent in your heart placed, you're a good chance you're going to make a full recovery, be able to do a lot of the things that you did before. We are starting to see a little bit more of like congestive heart failure, that sort of stuff, and that recovery is a little bit different. But when you're talking about, heart attacks or bypass surgeries, and even the technology that's come up with stenting now and even valve surgeries is amazing.
Yes, I know.
I remember starting 20 years ago, and, even before you got into cardiac rehab, the doctor didn't want you to do anything for like 2.5 weeks.
Right.
Now the doctors want you in cardiac rehab within a week.
Afterwards.
And then of course different patients are recover a little bit differently, but it's just that recovery. I mean, and it's just to see. That's why I love what I do, and I know the staff would probably agree with me when I say this: is to see a patient come in, especially after like a bypass surgery, clutching a pillow, because their sternum is still recovering.
Absolutely.
Clutching that pillow, and then 36 sessions or 12 weeks later after they finish cardiac rehab, they're walking out and they've got a pep in their step. I mean, that's why we do what we do, and we love it. So.
Well, and just for the audience sake, they clutch a pillow because their sternum, which is your breastplate, is cut because they pull it apart and get to your heart. And so you get this big pillow and you kind of hang on to it because you don't want anything to come near you, and you don't want to even take a deep breath because anything like that hurts. So.
Coughing, stuff like that. Yep.
So, and what's the average rehab for, we'll start with open heart surgery.
Yeah, so, most cardiac rehab programs, and it goes back to insurance too, unfortunately, have to, look at that. But most insurance companies will cover up to 36 sessions of the cardiac rehab.
And what is it, twice a week?
Yeah, 2 or 3 times a week. There used to be a mandate where they couldn't do more than 3. We've actually just begun a class a couple of months ago where we're actually, I don't want to say fast tracking, but we've seen a lot of folks, they're getting younger. I mean, these patients are getting very younger, and they need to go back to work. So we started a real early morning class, and they're actually coming 4 days a week.
What time is your early morning?
Like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
you love it, don't you?
Yeah, they do. I mean, they come in and they get their work done, and then they're able to go to work. Which is the big thing. So we've actually have a 4-day-a-week class now. We have had some patients that they want to finish all 36 sessions, so they've actually come 5 days. But most of the majority, people want to come 2 days a week. Which is okay. Our 2-day-a-week classes are probably our most popular classes right now. 3 days are probably the second popular, and then of course the 4 and 5 days are a little bit down the road. But yeah, 36 sessions. Each session is about an hour and a half long.
Is it?
Yeah. Now, they'll exercise maybe 35 to 45 minutes out of that hour and a half. There's lots of different things that we'll do. Most of that is cardiovascular exercise in nature, like walking, treadmill, recumbent bike, stepper, that sort of stuff. We do some light hand weight and resistance band exercises as well, especially for, like we were talking about, bypass patients with the sternum that is recovering. You want to kind of help build up that upper body strength and kind of help the healing process. That's a little bit different. Typically a bypass patient or heart transplant, maybe even a valve surgery, you're not going to see them start a cardiac rehab program until about 6 to 8 weeks after their surgery.
They've got to heal that much.
Just from the healing process. We have had on a very rare occasion where a doctor really wants to get a patient started quickly. If they start before that 6 weeks, they just won't do any weight training or anything with their upper body.
Right.
They just kind of be more monitored, supervised walking, that sort of thing. But yeah, and of course now they're doing like a TAVR, where they're doing the laparoscopic for the valve surgeries and stuff, and that recovery time is a lot quicker too. Stents, they can pretty much start right away. We still very cautious though with a lot of our patients. The key to the cardiac rehab is that supervised and monitored. We do have the capability of EKG monitoring for all of our cardiac rehab patients, and that's continuous throughout every session. And when we moved to the building that we're in now, we were able to put up some pretty large monitors throughout the facility so that the staff is able to, work with patients and then look up and see the EKG actually up there, so they can give them some pretty good, I'm going to say real-time feedback on what their EKG rhythms are.
So are all of your people that monitor, are they all nurses or?
So we've got 2 nurses, 2 great, let me rephrase that, 2 great nurses, 2 great exercise physiologists.
I tried to get them to come on, but they wouldn't do it.
I did too. I tried my hardest. And 2 respiratory therapists that are actually full-time on staff. We do have a PRN exercise physiologist that actually just started a couple of days ago, and she's just kind of still going through some training right now. But they all do a great job. They all have their own, treatment plans. Every patient that comes in has an individual treatment plan. We keep track of time, and it seems like everybody's doing the same thing, but they're all doing it for different reasons, different purposes, goals, and all that stuff. They go through a pretty comprehensive assessment when they first start.
And who does the assessment? The nurses, or you do, or what?
Actually, each discipline does. So now if it's
okay.
a pulmonary rehab patient, we'll add the respiratory therapist, but the nurse will do an assessment, the exercise physiologist will do an assessment, and the respiratory therapist. Right now, we're kind of in a transition phase with dietary. That's but we do have the capability of doing having a dietitian from the hospital come over, and she does like every 3 weeks a lecture.
That's so vital too.
It's huge.
It's just it's as important to me as the exercise portion itself.
I mean, I'll sit in on some of the, I haven't done it often, but I would actually sit there, and you'll learn something new every single time that you didn't realize before.
Yep.
So each staff member does their own assessment, and every 30 calendar days while they're in the program, the staff will actually review that treatment plan, which is individualized, and make changes as needed. And then typically that 12-week mark, or at the end of the third month, we call it a graduation. They get a nice little certificate that says they completed. Some of them say they survived. We say completed, but they complete. And then we give them some things that make sure that they can continue. Because you got to remember that cardiac rehab doesn't fix you. Cardiac rehab just puts you on track. As I see the train tracks as I was coming in, we're just getting you on that track. So this way, when you finish the program, you've got to continue to do this on your own. When I call and try and set up like an initial consult, one of the first things I'll tell them is, we're not an exercise program. We are a lifestyle modification program, because unfortunately, it's the risk factors that probably got you here in the first place. And so if they have risk factors, as we're going through our assessment, we're making sure that we're educating, and that's part of their treatment plan. If they have high blood pressure, okay, what are we doing to help manage it? Do you check it regularly? Blood sugar for diabetes, our nurses do some phenomenal education in modifying, making sure that their diabetes is being monitored and checked throughout each session too.
I think education is the whole piece. That's why I do this show. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about them, the audience, knowing how to stay out of your area of the hospital.
I mean, I always tell everybody when they graduate, I hope I never see you again.
Right. That's right.
I mean, as much as I would love for them to come and visit, that's all I want it to be, is a visit. I don't want you to come back.
Right.
And if you call around to other and cardiac rehab, it's not a competition. It's not like which program is the best, although I think we're really good.
Of course.
But at the same time, every program does it just a little bit differently. I've got colleagues, I'll say, even within the UNC system, and their programs run just a little bit differently. We put a lot of emphasis on education, is where I was getting at. We make sure that they actually attend at least one of their classes each week. They attend like a 15 to 20 minute education. We have like a 12-week rotating schedule, and each discipline, the nurse, respiratory therapist, or even the exercise physiologist will actually do a specific education on that.
That's really important. That's great. All right, it's time for our first break, and when we come back, we're going to keep talking to Mike about cardiac rehab, pulmonary rehab, and he has his fingers in some community service in this town, and we might even get to that. So hang on and don't go away. We'll be right back.
February is American Heart Month, a time dedicated to spreading awareness of cardiovascular disease, which includes heart disease and stroke. It is the leading global cause of death, with more than 17 million deaths each year, and is expected to rise to more than 23 million by 2030. In the U.S., about 1 in 4 deaths is attributed to heart disease. So let's have a heart-to-heart. Early action is important for heart attacks, increasing chances of survival. Don't discount major warning signs and symptoms. Chest pain or discomfort, upper body pain, or discomfort in the arms, back, neck, jaw, or upper stomach, shortness of breath, nausea, lightheadedness, or cold sweats. Heart disease knows no boundaries and is prevalent in all ethnic groups. Know the risk factors, medical conditions, and lifestyle choices that put people at higher risk. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, smoking, diabetes, obesity, poor diet, physical inactivity, excessive alcohol use, and potentially gum disease. WHIG-TV encourages you to have a heart-to-heart talk about cardiovascular disease with your provider and take steps to lower your risk of heart disease.
All right, hey, welcome back. This is the American Heart Month, and our sponsors you can see in the back. We've got Primary Urgent Care in Nashville. We've got UNC Health Nash. I don't know what this, oh, I can't see. I don't know what the green one is. Oh.
Pharmacy?
Oh, Medical Park Pharmacy, Thomas McDowell. Okay, so we're grateful for these people that support this, and it's so, heart disease is so prevalent, unfortunately, all over the country, but it's really bad around here. And as Mike was saying, at one point, we don't know if this statistic is true, still true, but at one point, Edgecombe County had the highest obesity rate in the state of North Carolina. Those are not statistics that we want to promote. Those are not statistics that we want to talk about. But the food we eat is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
The standard American diet is so bad, Mike. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And I know that that is extremely contributory to the cardiac world, and extremely contributory to you.
Yeah. Hey, it's job security if you look at it, but I don't like looking at it that way.
I know.
But
We could find something else to do as a job. We don't have to have this. But so I'd asked Mike during the break if there was statistically if there were more men, more women, and so Mike's going to address that a little bit.
yeah, and I think right now, just thinking through it, just thinking about the census that we have right now, we have about maybe 116 total patients in the program, and that's including cardiac, pulmonary, and PAD.
That's a long. That's come a long way from when I was there. Of course,
and
I've been gone a long time.
Yeah, and you need to come by and visit sometime.
I do.
See the
I
new facility.
I need to see your digs.
But we, I think at one point, maybe it was right just before Halloween, I think we had been up to maybe about close to 140 patients.
Wow.
Attendance is driven, I mean, it's lots of things. It's like going to the gym, lots of things can happen between your house and the gym.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think it's probably about a 50-50 split with male and female. So
yeah, and I mean, when I used to go over there and exercise, because I went early before you had a lot of classes, but when I was over there, you maybe had 10, 15.
Yeah. Yeah, we've grown tremendously. I mean, and it's, again, I think a lot of it, and I've mentioned this several times, but we are now part of, at UNC Health Nash, we're part of the Heart Center Division line, which is just to see the collaboration and the working together of the entire division line, from the time that they have a catheterization to the time the referral gets to us to they go to the cardiology clinic. It's just great teamwork. I would name lots of people, but I'd be afraid I'd miss some folks.
Right.
But and then I guess it kind of helps having your wife being the clinical manager of the cardiology clinic also
She's
too.
going to make
because
sure her husband stays working.
always got an in over there. But yeah, I mean, just the whole division line has just been a wonderful to be a part of. That is because we never really were.
Right.
You know, we were unfortunately off campus, out of sight, out of mind a little bit.
That really does make a difference, doesn't it?
But being on campus makes a really big difference. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to be a part of that division.
So, do you have to be referred? Like, I've had a heart attack and I just want to come do that. I'd have to have my cardiologist or my PCP refer me.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now, I say unfortunately because you're mid-level, it has to be a physician, and it drives me crazy. No, let me finish. Because I wish that nurse practitioners, NPAs, which are more than capable of sending a referral and an order over to us,
Are you kidding
great.
me? You're serious?
It has to be a doctor's signature or authorization.
Whose rule is that?
We won't get into that right now.
Okay.
But yeah, so it has to be a physician referral. Typically, we're taking right now probably roughly maybe about 4 or 5 days to do an initial consult on a
That's not
patient.
bad.
No, it's not bad at all. We went from, when we were at our old facility, we were averaging probably about 34 days to get a patient into the program. Right now, I just looked at it today before I left work, we're at like 15 days. So we were able to cut that down and get people to care even quicker and more efficient than we were before. And again, has a lot to do with more staff, and then of course more space
Sure,
and
of
facility
course.
room. But yeah, it has to be a physician order. And like I said, as soon as I get it, I don't sit on them. You know, I usually do a quick chart review just to make sure that the diagnosis is viable and is justified, and then call the patient. You know, get the patient in within a couple of days for the initial consult, where we talk a little bit more in detail about the program.
Right. Yeah.
They see the facility. I like doing that. Number one, it starts the relationship. You know, I mean, we're going to see these folks, they're going to be like our family. So we start that relationship at the initial consult, and then we continue the relationship, obviously, when they get started. So, but that gives them the opportunity. And, you know, you can get some folks who are very nervous, very anxious. You know, anxiety kicks in a little bit, never had a heart attack before.
Right, they've been super sick.
And then they see these folks exercising, and then they get even more scared and nervous. But I joke with them usually when I walk up to them. So, look, if you ever come for a consult, know that I'm joking when I say, hey, you ready to go run a mile? Because I'm totally kidding. We take it nice and slow and easy.
I couldn't run a mile, I don't think.
But we try and calm their nerves, and by the time that, you know, we get a lot of folks that come in and say, hey, this is my first and probably my last session, and then when they finish their 36th session, they say, oh, I don't want to leave.
Right.
So, you know, the staff does a great job of making them feel part of family.
Well, and I remember when I was over there that it was like a family, and you'd have little, you know, celebrations and that. I guess you probably still do that.
Yep, still do the little parties, and you know, we're fortunate enough. Well, maybe I shouldn't say this, but a lot of times patients graduate and they'll stop over at Krispy Kreme and, you know, get us a box of donuts and say thank you for your help, and we appreciate all of that for sure. So, do as we say, not as we do.
I know. Nobody wants to give a basket of fruit. They just don't. And,
well, the basket of fruit would just sit there, so you know.
Well, it's also a lot more expensive.
Yeah, true.
Lord, we ought to start giving out eggs.
Oh, I don't want to start a fight in the,
I
in the
know,
clinic.
right? Jeez Louise. So do you have like outside referrals? Let's say they live here in town, but they went to Duke to have their procedure. They can still come as long as they're referred.
Oh
by
yeah,
them.
absolutely. We obviously being affiliated with UNC has been a huge
Sure.
uptick for us. It's just been great, and again, not just the Heart Center division line at Nash, but just having multiple resources throughout the state. I always keep in touch with a lot of the other managers of the cardiac and pulmonary rehabs within our affiliated system at UNC, and that's been great. We've got lots of resources, but One of the things that I work on a whole lot is making sure that those relationships are staying strong with Duke, with Wake Med, even Rex at this point, even though it's part, because that's where a lot of the outside referrals come from.
Oh, okay.
ECU, actually, Roanoke Rapids, ECU North, they actually send a lot of referrals to us. Again,
I forgot about Wake. Wake's still a pretty big heart
Oh yeah,
center,
oh yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely. We get lots of referrals. Probably our number one referring source would probably be Rex and UNC. Actually, I take that back. It would probably be Nash. I mean, because right now, a lot of the programs now have what we consider automatic orders. So if they have a heart attack and a stent at the hospital,
That's part
it
of the
gets
whole
sent
protocol.
straight to us, which is great.
Yeah.
And then we can see it shows up in our work queues and stuff in the medical record. So.
You can kind of follow it that way
Yep.
too. That's awesome.
Yep.
And that's interesting, as a mid-level, that makes me mad, but I'm not going to go.
It makes me mad, too,
What I was going to say is Medicare requires an MD signature for diabetic shoes. I can write for morphine, fentanyl, OxyContin, but I can't write for diabetic shoes.
And cardiac rehab.
And cardiac rehab, right? It's just crazy, the rules and regs.
I mean, and I know that there has been a lot of work and push for that to change, and there's lots of colleagues that I know that they go on like the Day in the Hill and stuff, and they really push for stuff like that. I think it would absolutely 100% increase our referrals because a lot of our patients are now seeing the nurse practitioners and the PAs instead of the doctors.
We have 2 doctors where I work, and we have 6 mid-levels. So
there you go.
So that really limits,
Yep.
and that's unfortunate. But I'll be going on. I'm pretty big. There's something called the SAVE Act, which is for nurse practitioners to be able to work independently and not have to pay a medical supervisor to supervise them. And so one of the, I'm going to a conference in Wilmington in April, and one of the state senators is a nurse practitioner who pushes this SAVE Act, so I'm going to find out about this. I'll be talking to her about that. We have another area of reform.
You let me know. You give her my card. I'll be happy to talk to her.
Say, you need to talk to Mike Sohn. He can tell you. That's just, it doesn't surprise me, really. It doesn't. I mean, it's just, it's the craziness of our healthcare. And it's I don't know what to say. We're going to move on. That's what we're going to do. We're going to move on. So you've got how many? You're the exercise physiologist and the part-time one. Did I get that right?
So actually, there's 2 nurses, 2 exercise physiologists, and 2 respiratory therapists. So I do a lot of the intake process. Like you said, referral comes in. I do a lot of the reviewing, then of course the just day-to-day operation stuff. So I don't have as much patient care. Actually, I take that back. I really don't have any patient care at this point, other than starting that relationship with the patient when they first come in, introducing them to the staff and that sort of stuff.
So you said that each session was about an hour and a half, and 30 minutes of it is exercise. What's the other?
Education. We leave time for just transitioning from piece to piece. They'll do typically about 2 15 to 25-minute sessions of cardiovascular exercise, and that may not be continuous. Okay, that's a big part of it. Exercise physiologists do a great job of tailoring the treatment plan to what the patient can do. And that might mean exercising for 5 minutes, when they first start, and then resting for 30 seconds, and then, by the time they finish or get close to that 36th session, it should be continuous exercise. So most of it is the 15 to 25 minutes, just kind of depending on how long the education might take. Of course, giving us time to check in, about 15 to 20 patients per class. And that includes heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation, getting them set up on the EKG monitors, that sort of stuff. So, classes run, and again, everybody goes by the same time. We have some great volunteers I don't know if you remember, we've had a volunteer with us that he's been there as long as I've been there. He's been there close to about 20 to 25 years. His name is Wyatt Phillips, and he does our timekeeper. We've got a big clock on the wall, but he's always the one, we're going to miss him if he ever leaves, because he's the one that says, all right, let's go, let's crank him up, I mean, so he's really good. But everybody goes on the same time scale, but again, everybody's exercise intensities and stuff like that is much different. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So how long has cardiac rehab been? I know at Nash how long it's been in existence, but what precipitated it? What started it? Do you have a little bit of history, or you don't know?
Well, I've been there for 25 years, so the only thing I know is that there's always been that need for recovery. And again, as I was mentioned earlier, it's evolved into such a comprehensive program now. It's much different. I remember when I first started, like I said, I would check a pulse, write a number down, and then that would be it. Now it's, check a pulse, write their prescription down, did they meet their goals for the day? I mean, it's just much more that goes into it. But yeah, I think there's always been there, but I just think over the years it's just evolved into something completely more worthy. I mean, it's proven.
It's showing its value.
Correct. I mean, even in the PAD, when that just started a few years ago, I mean, that's almost seen like a class medication. If they actually come and do the exercise, and a lot of doctors won't do any procedures for PAD, for claudication or anything, until after they do the rehab.
Wow.
And because they are that, and I know our cardiologists, a lot of them feel this way. They're that confident that if they actually stick with a really good exercise routine,
they can
will improve.
fix themselves.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know I didn't even realize that peripheral artery disease was being treated at Nash until Dr. Patel was here a few weeks ago, and she told me. So that's great. I mean, I used to have to send everybody to Raleigh.
Yeah, and I think there's actually several of them. So our medical director, Dr. Zhou, he does peripheral. I think Dr. Jones does. I think Dr. Patel does too. And where we're strategically located, so the UNC cardiology group is actually in the same building that we're in.
Oh, okay.
So they have to walk past us to get to the cardiology, and we strategically did that. But Dr. Patel she's a referral champion.
Too.
I mean, she tells them after she sees them in clinic, hey, go walk next door and go introduce yourself and go talk to them. And I think that's key, because once they see what they're doing, it makes a big difference. I mean, we have a walking track that's in there in the clinic now, which we didn't have before, that sort of stuff.
I want to come visit. I really do. I need
Hopefully
to
not as a
stop by.
patient, though.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely
No, not a
not.
patient.
No,
That wouldn't be
I
good.
eat right. I exercise.
good.
No. All right, it's time for our next break, and then when we come back, we're going to just talk about some other things. Well, make sure we've gotten everything in rehab taken care of. Now we're going to talk about some of the things that Mike was involved in, and I'm pretty interested in that. I think you will be too. So hang on, don't go away, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
February is American Heart Month, a time dedicated to spreading awareness of cardiovascular disease, which includes heart disease and stroke. It is the leading global cause of death, with more than 17 million deaths each year, and is expected to rise to more than 23 million by 2030. In the U.S., about 1 in 4 deaths is attributed to heart disease. So let's have a heart-to-heart. Early action is important for heart attacks, increasing chances of survival. Don't discount major warning signs and symptoms. Chest pain or discomfort, upper body pain, or discomfort in the arms, back, neck, jaw, or upper stomach, shortness of breath, nausea, lightheadedness, or cold sweats. Heart disease knows no boundaries, and is prevalent in all ethnic groups. Know the risk factors, medical conditions, and lifestyle choices that put people at higher risk. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, smoking, diabetes, obesity, poor diet, physical inactivity, excessive alcohol use, and potentially gum disease. WHIG-TV encourages you to have a heart-to-heart talk about cardiovascular disease with your provider and take steps to lower your risk of heart disease.
All right, we're back. Welcome. This is Here's Your Good Health. I've got Mike Sohn from UNC Nash Healthcare here. He's the manager of the cardiac rehab, and we've been talking about that. I said, do you want to go into talking about how it helps your heart? You know, the blood pressure gets stronger, and no, it's too technical.
You know, you had originally asked me, I think it was a couple of days ago, you said, well, just, you just want to tell them what you do. And, I remember the story of my girls when they were growing up. Their friends would always ask them, well, what does your dad do? So their response was always, well, my dad watches people exercise. And then when I became manager, of the program, I actually told them, I said, well, now you have to change that to, I watch people who watch people exercise now.
Okay, so that's a pretty good deal. Just watch people exercise.
And of course, it is much more than that. But,
I know. When I used to go over there and exercise, we'd just chat.
Yep.
You'd give me tips on what to do and how to do it and all that. I kind of sometimes listened, I guess. I don't know. I like to exercise. I try exercise every day.
To me, it's an addictive thing. Once you start feeling better, and you can write probably a 500 chapter book on the benefits of exercise. Right. And just self-esteem is part of it, and to me, that's the addictive part.
Well, to me, it's like I liken it to a sink of dirty dishes. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to do it. But once you're in it, and then there's a sense of accomplishment, and there's a sense of, I'm ready for the day. And that's kind of where I am. I have to force myself, because I get up in the morning, I drink my coffee, read the Bible, have my prayer chair, have my little time, and then I'll look at my clock and I'll say, okay, it's time to get in the den.
I will have to tell you that my wife does a great job of getting up in the morning and exercising in the morning, getting her day going. I am not a morning exerciser. I am an afternoon exerciser. Mm-hmm. COVID changed a lot of things for us, obviously, lots of people, but one of the things that we did, when the gyms were closed, and even during COVID, our clinic was shut down for about 3 months. That was a tough time, but, even during COVID, we decided to invest money in exercise equipment. And we still find excuses not to do it, but still.
Well, that's human nature.
Yeah,
I think we're inherently lazy.
Correct.
And you just got to, I've got to talk to myself. Okay, Linda, get up out of the chair. I want another cup of coffee. No, you can't. It's like you got the good and the bad, right? The good saying, get up and go. The bad saying, no, have more coffee.
And who usually wins?
Get up and go.
Okay, good. Good answer.
Sometimes the coffee wins. I'll be perfectly honest. Sometimes the coffee wins. And tomorrow might be a coffee win day.
Okay.
We'll see. It's the end of the week.
Yeah.
Those Thursdays is kind of my day
it's
where...
over hump day.
Yeah, some days I do and some days I don't. So I just want to talk a little bit. I know that this is Nash's time, and I know that it's cardiac rehab, and it's American Heart Month. But Mike has been involved, and he just informed me he isn't anymore. But there's a program in town called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. So do you want to address that a little bit for me?
Yeah, I probably spent about 5 years. So it's been about 1.5 years since I kind of stepped away. We had a lot of, life changes, good things, children getting married, kids going off to college, that sort of stuff. So I kind of stepped away because it got really very time consuming. But Sleep in Heavenly Peace, it was a wonderful time in my life where we were an organization here in Rocky Mount. It's actually run by Frank Hernandez, who's still going strong, which I'm very, very excited about. But we would build and deliver beds to local kids in the community that were in need. To tie this into NASH, I mean, and not that we have to, but NASH is an organization where the administration really kind of pushes for a lot of community service, and I had the wonderful privilege of taking many teams out from NASH on a lot of our bed deliveries, including Dr. Lee Isley.
The big guy, the top dog.
And look, he was, and everybody, and not that it was just him, but everybody. I mean, they were hands-on. I mean, but it's an overwhelming thing to realize that there are kids right in our backyard that don't have beds. And I remember taking my youngest daughter Caitlin with us. The first time Frank took us out with him, he said, "Just come with me one time, you'll be hooked." Yeah, right, whatever. So we went and went to this house and we delivered a bed. Now, when you get a bed, you're getting the bed frame, the headboard, footboard, side rails, you're getting a mattress, you're getting a pillow, you're getting all of the sheets, linens, and everything you need. And we built the bed, which, by the way, me and my buddy, we have the record for building a bed of 1 minute and 32 seconds, which still stands.
Really?
That's building the bed, putting the sheets and everything on it. 1 minute and 30 seconds.
So it's
done.
But he's not starting from scratch building that.
Oh, no. Yeah. So the organization, it's kind of in phases, we'll call it.
Right.
Where they have these big community bed builds, and Sleep in Heavenly Peace is an organization that, to me, it builds communities. It's not just delivering the beds to the kids in need. It's literally building communities. I mean, you get lots of organizations together. We'll just throw it out on social media and just say, hey, we're doing a bed build, and there would be hundreds of people that would come to help build these beds, and you're building the headboards, the headboards and the side rails is all ready to go. So you're exactly right.
Your
you
pieces
put that
of it.
your pieces together, and then when you go to do the delivery, you're just kind of taking some bolts and you're putting the headboards and the side rails together with the slats, and then you're putting the mattress down. So that's where the 1 minute and 30 second comes from. Yeah, I would be there forever if we were building the headboards.
Well, I knew that, but I wanted to clarify that.
But I know when I finished, so I stepped away in December of 23, I think, after our last really big delivery of the year was Operation Sleigh Bells. I had stepped away. Tough decision, not the easiest one, but it was a tough decision, but the right one. But at that point, I think we had delivered over 1,000 beds, maybe more. I can't even remember what the number was, but the list of needs for the beds is just tremendous.
Where do you get the list? How do people find?
So Frank does a great job of going to schools and talking to the school nurses, talking to social workers, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, where kids are, Linda. Yeah. Oh yeah, well that makes sense.
And then the parents will put the application in, and Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which is a national organization. It's not just a Rocky Mount organization. I think that, again, I'm not even quite sure. There was probably about maybe 300 or so chapters throughout the country, and it was created by a man named Luke, who literally just went into his garage one day because a friend of his said, hey, I really need to build, Bobby a bed. So he just went and had some scrap wood, put a bed together, and the next thing you know, he Sleep in Heavenly Peace was born. And it's kind of trickled its way to many small little chapters throughout the country. And I forget how many beds, and again, it's been about 1.5 years, but I think the community, and I know there's a lot of employees at UNC Nash that believe this, that we serve the community in what we do in cardiac rehab or as bedside nurses or whatever, but to take your fellow coworker, your employees, and do things outside of the walls of the hospital, it's just amazing because you get to meet the people that you're serving. I can't tell you how many folks that, be like, you look familiar to me, and then did you deliver bed? I did, and it was like a family member of one of the patients or something like that.
Right.
And my heart just just grows larger and larger every time, just to see, any employee that comes up to me and said, hey, we've collected linens. Can we do this as a department at the hospital? And then you take it. Absolutely. Team building, yes, but I mean, the look on these kids' faces when they don't have anything and then you build something is just great. But I'm very grateful for a lot of the doctors and the administration, any employee or coworker that's actually come with us and delivered these beds. NASH is a big organization, and I know that there's many that believe the same way I do about community service.
Oh yeah, I'm big on community service.
Absolutely.
I'm all about, I'm so blessed and I have so much.
Yep.
You're blessed, you have so much.
Yep.
And there are people that don't, and I'm not too big in my britches to say, come on, let's go and help,
Not at all.
One of the things that I'm involved in too is called RAM, Remote Area Medical.
Okay.
And they bring a complete team, and they transform, there's a gymnasium and a school into a clinic. And so you've got your part where you've got, little exam rooms where they can do certain, blood pressure and that kind of thing. They even can do like pap smears and breast exams and that kind of thing. Then they've got a complete eye lab where you go there, and Lee, who works here, went and got the glasses. You see the ophthalmologist or the optometrist, you get the eye exam, you get the prescription, and they make the glasses right there on site. And then they have a dental lab where they have 2 rows of 4 exam rooms each, and one is teeth cleaning, and then one is dentistry. And, they can do simple dentistry, they could pull a tooth, or they could fill a filling, no crowns or anything like that, of course.
Wanda has done, my wife, she's been to Africa several times on like medical missions with Dr. Bill Harden. I don't know if you know.
Oh, I know Bill Harden. I used to work with him.
But she's done several of those, and they're much need. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not. But again, to just think in your own backyard,
right?
And you get that same feeling with the RAM stuff that you're doing, to realize that it's right in your own backyard. Several of my kids, both of my girls have come with us on deliveries, and there was one time where we went into a house of somebody that was actually in her grade. It was a little awkward,
somebody that she went to school with.
Yeah, she went to school with.
Oh, wow.
And it was a little awkward. And then there was another time where she realized it, and she said, I think I'm going to stay in the car on this one. But, I mean...
Sure. Well, it saves space for the kid that's getting the bed as well.
But it was very humbling for Caitlin. I mean, just to realize, it's like you said, we take things for granted. And this is just beds. I mean, we've done lots of different things. NASH has a really good, like I said, their philosophy on community service. There's lots of opportunities throughout the year for employees for us to go do a couple of hours. That heart fair that we just had this past, which was wonderful.
I was there.
But that was great to just see, again, the whole division line is, when I really got to give props to Meredith Hayes and Tara for putting that together. But to have all of the departments of NASH there, and especially the Heart Center division line, it's community. I mean, it's community service.
It was fun for me because I still know some people over there. It's been a while, and it's been a long time since I worked with them. But like Sherry Bird, I worked with her in the ER.
She's one of our nurses.
I know,
yep.
And I know, what's her name?
Beth.
Yep. I wanted to call her Hope, and I knew Hope wasn't right. Beth, Beth. I've known her for quite a while, so it was fun to go, and I think the heart fair was great.
It was great. And I think that's the third time.
Late.
So this is the second year I think that we were at the Imperial Center. We've done it in the Heart Center lobby for several years, but again, when you talk about community service, you need to go where the people are.
That's right. You need to go in the community.
Correct.
And
nobody wants to go to a hospital.
No.
I mean, even though the heart center is great and the hospital
And
is
they do
great,
a great
it's very
job,
clean and
and
all
it's
that.
important,
It's
yes.
just important to go to where the people are.
that's
so,
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yep.
Well, I thank you, Mike, for coming.
Well, thanks for
It's been
having me.
awesome. Taking
Next
a-
time I'm bringing the whole staff with me.
There
And
you go.
Abby, if you're watching, you're next.
Uh-oh, Abby, which, I don't know, maybe I know you, maybe I don't, Abby, but I'll get you beforehand, and we had,
Get her for respiratory week. She's a respiratory therapist.
oh, okay, all right, we can do
You're
that.
welcome,
Abby,
Abby.
watch out, I'll be looking for you. We had the BTAR rehab
Okay.
folks, and I mean, Brian brought everybody.
Mm-hmm.
He came and he talked, and then he had his, his OT and his PT, and it was great. It was a great show. So we're going to have to get
Yes,
everybody.
absolutely.
Pulmonary.
I'm all for
yeah.
that.
Okay. All right. All right. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week with more of Here's to Your Good Health. Have a good night. Happy Valentine's Day. Good night.
February is American Heart Month, a time dedicated to spreading awareness of cardiovascular disease, which includes heart disease and stroke. It is the leading global cause of death, with more than 17 million deaths each year, and is expected to rise to more than 23 million by 2030. In the U.S., about 1 in 4 deaths is attributed to heart disease. So let's have a heart-to-heart. Early action is important for heart attacks, increasing chances of survival. Don't discount major warning signs and symptoms. Chest pain or discomfort, upper body pain, or discomfort in the arms, back, neck, jaw, or upper stomach, shortness of breath, nausea, lightheadedness, or cold sweats. Heart disease knows no boundaries and is prevalent in all ethnic groups. Know the risk factors, medical conditions, and lifestyle choices that put people at higher risk. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, smoking, diabetes, obesity, poor diet, physical inactivity, excessive alcohol use, and potentially gum disease. WHIG-TV encourages you to have a heart-to-heart talk about cardiovascular disease with your provider and take steps to lower your risk of heart disease.